There exists within man a silent saboteur, a voice that echoes not from the heavens, but from the limitations we have unconsciously accepted as truth. This voice, often mistaken as reason, whispers doubt, fear, and self-reproach. It is the inner critic. Yet, I tell you now, this voice is but a shadow, powerless except by your belief in it. You have given it its voice, and just as you gave it life, you may silence it. For nothing exists outside your own wonderful human imagination. What you accept as true of yourself, you become. The ancients knew, and I declare unto you, that consciousness is the only reality. The world you perceive is nothing more than a mirror, reflecting your inner conversations, your dominant self-talk. The inner critic, then, is not an enemy to be defeated, but a pattern of thought to be reimagined. If you truly desire to live the life of your dreams, to awaken to the divine power within you, you must begin by mastering the voice within. Not through force, not through willpower, but through the alchemy of imaginative transformation. You are not what the inner critic says you are. You are what you imagine yourself to be. Let me make this very clear. The voice that tells you you are not enough, or you will fail, is not the voice of God, nor the voice of your higher self. It is an echo of past assumptions, reinforced by unlovely states you have entered and lingered in. It is memory masquerading as prophecy. But your future is not bound by your past, unless you say it is. You are free at any moment to rise from the tomb of self, doubt and clothe yourself in a new assumption. And if you persist in that assumption, if you walk in the feeling of the wish fulfilled, the inner critic will fade like mist under the morning sun. How then do you silence it? Not by arguing with it, not by resisting it, but by ignoring it and assuming the opposite. Every time it speaks, you respond not with effort, but with imaginative refusal. You deny its reality and instead accept only that which is lovely, noble, and life-giving. You do this not in your outer world, but in the inner sanctuary of imagination. For the imagination is the creative faculty of God in man. It is not idle fancy. It is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. Here is the technique, and I ask you to practice it faithfully when the inner critic arises, and it will, as long as you have not yet transformed that pattern. Do not fight it. Simply pause, go within, close your eyes, and imagine the scene that would imply the critic has no place in your world. Suppose it told you that you would never succeed. Imagine instead a scene where your success is assumed and celebrated. Hear the congratulations of friends, feel the joy in your chest, and above all, experience the peace of knowing it is done. This is not imagination as escapism. It is imagination as prayer, as power, as the creative act of God. Speak to yourself as one who is already the person you desire to be. This is not self-delusion. This is the divine law in action. As you revise your inner speech, you revise your world. For your world is and always has been yourself pushed out. You may say, "But I have tried and failed." I say to you, you have not persisted. For the inner critic thrives on inconsistency. It is a parasite of doubt. But once you adopt the habit of assuming your ideal self consistently, lovingly, and boldly, the critic is starved of its food. It cannot feed on love. It cannot exist in the presence of imagination directed toward truth. When I speak of truth, I do not mean facts. Facts are the fruit of previous belief. Truth is that which you dare to assume and embody, even in the absence of evidence. Truth is your imagination, awakened and consecrated to the good. And the highest truth is that you are already what you seek to be. You need not earn it. You need only accept it. This is not a technique of addition, but of subtraction. You do not need to become anything. You need only cease to be that which you are not. The inner critic is the mask. Your true self is the face beneath it. Strip away every thought that contradicts your ideal, and the critic will have nothing left to say. So I urge you now, take your attention away from the problem and place it upon the solution. Do not attend to the voice of doubt, attend to the feeling of the wish fulfilled. Feel it real. Let your imagination be so vivid, so alive, that the old voice cannot compete. Make the lovely and the noble more real to you than the evidence of your senses. Live as though your assumption were already true, and you will discover that it is. Remember always that assumption, though false, if persisted in, will harden into fact. Do not wait for the world to change. Change your inner speech, and the world will mirror that change. The inner critic is not outside you. It has no objective reality. It is but a habitual thought pattern you are free to replace at any moment. You are the operant power. You are the creator. Therefore, do not concern yourself with what others say, or even what the old self says. Concern yourself only with what you are now choosing to imagine. Assume the best of yourself, boldly, joyfully, persistently. And when the old voice speaks again, simply smile and say, "That is not who I am." Then return to your inner temple and dwell once more in the feeling of your fulfilled desire. This is how you silence the inner critic, not with struggle, but with truth, not with noise, but with the stillness of knowing. You are not a victim of your mind. You are its master. And when you realize this, when you live from the end, from the state of already being, your world will reflect your newfound power. The critic will be silenced, not by force, but by love. And so I leave you with this. Imagine boldly, assume the best, and persist. The inner critic is only as real as you make it. Withdraw your belief and it vanishes. Feed your imagination with beauty, love, and power, and watch as the world reshapes itself in your image. The inner critic is not a voice from God, nor is it the truth of your being. It is but the echo of former beliefs, an illusion maintained by your unconscious loyalty to a self-image unworthy of the divine spark within you. It is the residue of past assumptions, accepted without question and perpetuated through habit. And yet, I tell you, it holds no power except that which you lend it through belief. You were not born with this critic. You created it through the misuse of your imagination. And what has been created can be uncreated. You must understand this one eternal truth. There is no power outside of your own wonderful human imagination. The inner critic is nothing more than an arrangement of thought, a collection of unlovely ideas clothed in the voice of reason, fear, and limitation. But what is reason, if not the servant of belief? If you believe you are small, the inner critic will confirm it. If you believe you are mighty, the same imagination will testify to your greatness. Therefore, do not seek to destroy the inner critic. Simply cease to feed it. Withdraw your attention from it and it withers. The critic speaks only when you are out of alignment with your desired state. It arises when you forget who you are. You are not the voice of doubt. You are not the past. You are not your mistakes. You are imagination itself. You are the operant power, the creator of all that you perceive. And when you return to this remembrance, when you assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled, the voice of the critic becomes irrelevant. It cannot speak in the presence of true faith. Do not fight the inner critic. To oppose it is to believe in it. Instead, turn your attention inward and create a new scene, a new conversation, a new identity. If the critic says you are unworthy, you do not argue, you assume the opposite. You hear instead the words "I am loved, I am chosen, I am capable," and you feel these words as though they are already true. You do not try to become this version of yourself. You are that self now. You walk in that assumption. You persist in it. And the critic fades not because you silenced it, but because it no longer has a home within you. Every time you hear the inner critic, see it for what it is, a ghost of a former state. You have left that state. You are no longer that man, that woman. You are born anew in imagination. The moment you assume a new self-concept, the world begins to reflect it, and the voice of the old dies with the state that birthed it. Therefore, live boldly in the end. Dare to imagine yourself as already free, already worthy, already enough. And from that high place, look down at the critic and smile, not in mockery, but in love. For even that voice was a servant, leading you home to the truth. You are God dreaming, and you may dream whatever you wish. Imagination is not a fanciful escape from reality. It is reality. It is the very essence of creation, the divine faculty through which all things are made. Every form, every circumstance, every event in your world is but the outpicturing of your inner imaginal acts. You do not observe the world and then imagine. It is precisely the opposite. You imagine, and then the world reflects your imagination. As within, so without. Imagination is the only redemptive power. It is God in action. Man thinks he is a victim of circumstance, but I say unto you, he is only ever a victim of his imagination misused. For the world moves in response to the images and assumptions he holds within himself. The law of consciousness is absolute. What you assume and persist in imagining, you shall experience. There is no other cause. There is no other maker. The outer world is yourself pushed out, clothed in objective form, that you might come to know what you have imagined. Imagination is the secret of the ages, hidden in plain sight. The Bible speaks of it not as a poetic metaphor, but as literal truth. Whatever you ask in prayer, believe that you have received it, and it will be yours. That belief is imagination. When you imagine yourself to be and feel it real, you are praying. And when you persist in that feeling, the thing imagined must appear, for God does not mock himself. The imaginal act is a seed, and its harvest is the world. The great tragedy is not the presence of pain, but man's ignorance of his creative power. He dreams in fear, then wakes to find his fears confirmed, and calls it fate. But I tell you, fate is nothing but imagination in motion. Change your imagination, and you change your fate. You do not need to work harder or beg some external deity. You need only enter the state of the wish fulfilled and dwell in it until it becomes natural. That is the true labor, the labor of imagining, and let no man say, it is too late. Time is a servant of imagination, not its master. There is no power in the past, except that which you carry into the present. Revise it, reimagine it, dare to assume that what should have been was, and you will alter what will be. This is not fantasy. It is the divine law in action. Your imagination is Christ in you, the hope of glory. It is your Savior, your Redeemer, your true self. So I urge you, awaken to your creative power. Live from imagination, not from memory. Do not react, create. Begin now, this very moment, to assume that which you desire to be, and walk in that assumption. Make your inner world more real than the outer, and the outer will conform. Imagination creates reality. It always has. It always will. There is no other foundation, no other truth. You are imagination. And imagining boldly, lovingly, and persistently, you are God in full expression. Assumption is the key to creation. It is the divine act of claiming a reality unseen and walking in it as though it were already true. To assume is to appropriate the state you desire and make it your dwelling place in consciousness. This is not wishful thinking. It is the highest form of prayer, for God does not respond to begging or need. He responds to the boldness of belief. The world responds not to your words, but to the assumptions you hold as true. Every assumption, whether noble or ignoble, if persisted in, will harden into fact. This is law. The world you call real is shaped not by chance, but by your inner convictions. You do not receive what you want, you receive what you assume. You may long for wealth, health, or love, But if your inner speech is saturated with doubt or lack, then that shall be your harvest. You must assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled, and live from that state as if it were already so. What does it mean to live from the end? It means to feel now as you would feel if your desire were already realized. To dwell in the state, not to reach for it, not to wait for it, but to enter it in imagination and remain there. When you assume a state, you give it life. You breathe the breath of consciousness into it. And because imagination is the only reality, the assumed state will objectify itself. For the outer world is simply your inner world made visible. The moment you assume a new identity, be it as a lover, a leader, a healer, a success, you set in motion the unseen forces of consciousness that shape your destiny. Do not look for confirmation in the outer world. The world is delayed in response. You must persist in your assumption without wavering. It is faith in action, not blind belief, but the bold conviction that what you imagine is already true. That is the secret of manifestation. Assumption is effortless when it is accepted fully. But the old man, the former self, will rise to challenge you with memories, appearances, and facts. Ignore them. The facts of life are not final. They are but the fruits of former assumptions. You are not bound by them unless you believe in them. The truth of your being is whatever you dare to assume. Therefore, assume nobly. Assume lovingly. Assume as one who knows that God Himself is expressing through you. Do not wait for permission. The assumption itself is the act of creation. It is a spiritual law that cannot fail. You are not becoming. You are. The assumption makes it so. Claim your desire now in consciousness and persist in that claim. Let your world rearrange itself around your new self-concept. This is the power given to you from the beginning. All things are possible to him who assumes, who believes. For assumption is the bridge between the invisible and the visible, between potential and manifestation. Assume it boldly, live it now, and it shall be. Persistence is the secret thread that weaves desire into reality. It is the unwavering decision to remain in the state of the wish fulfilled, regardless of appearances, regardless of delay, regardless of contradiction. To persist is to claim that which is not yet seen and refuse to let it go. It is to dwell continually in imagination, living from the end, knowing that your assumption, if sustained, must objectify itself in the world of form. This is not the persistence of effort, it is the persistence of faithful imagining. The world is always reflecting your inner state. When you assume a new identity, be it health, wealth, love, or success, the world will not immediately conform. Instead, it may even appear to contradict your assumption, but do not be deceived. These contradictions are merely echoes of your former beliefs. They have no power unless you return to them in thought. Therefore, I say to you, persist, hold fast to the inner vision, remain loyal to the unseen reality, for that which you dare to assume and persist in assuming will harden into fact. Persistence is the test of faith. It separates the dreamer from the creator. Many imagine once, feel the joy of it, and then fall back into doubt when the outer world does not respond at once. But the wise understand, creation is finished. All states exist now. The moment you assume a state and persist in it, you are moving through the bridge of incidents that leads to its fulfillment. The outer world is catching up to your inner world. Do not look back. Do not waver. Do not be double-minded. Your only true labor is to keep the feeling of the wish fulfilled alive within you, to walk in that inner conviction regardless of outer facts. You are not waiting. You are living as though it were already so. And as you persist, your world must bend to match your assumption. This is law, not because you are forcing it, but because you are aligned with the creative principle within you, your imagination. Persistence is not strain. It is not repetition in fear. It is not begging or hoping. It is quiet confidence. It is knowing. It is the soul that whispers, "It is done," and lives from that place until it appears. It is peace in the midst of delay, joy in the face of contradiction. It is the absolute refusal to return to the old man, the former self, for you have died to that version of yourself, and you live now in the new state. So I urge you, persist. Do not judge by appearances. Do not be moved by what the senses show. Let your assumption be more real to you than the facts of life. And as you persist in that inner knowing, your outer world will transform. It must, for the world is yourself pushed out, and your assumption, when persisted in, becomes your reality. This is the power of God within you activated through persistence. Transformation is not a process of slow evolution. It is a radical shift in consciousness. It is the moment you cease identifying with the man you have been and boldly assume the man you desire to be. This change is not wrought by time, nor by effort, nor by the world. It begins and ends entirely within you. Transformation is spiritual rebirth, the deliberate shedding of an old state and the conscious clothing of a new one. You do not transform by striving. You transform by imagining. You are not the body, you are not your history, you are not the sum of external facts. You are consciousness itself, and your world is your mirror. To transform the world, you must first transform yourself, not by doing, but by being. When you change your inner talking, when you change the thoughts you accept as true, when you feel yourself into the state of the wish fulfilled, then, and only then, does the outer begin to reflect your new nature. Every man is an infinite being who can at any moment become that which he imagines. This is not symbolic. This is literal truth. The moment you assume a new concept of self and persist in that assumption, the world must reshape itself around your new identity. You do not beg for transformation. You claim it. You do not wait for conditions. You imagine boldly in the face of contradiction. The change is internal, and its manifestation is inevitable. The world you see is a delayed expression of your past inner states. If you do not like what you see, do not curse the mirror. Change the image. Dwell in a higher concept of yourself. Transformation occurs when you live from the end, when you move in consciousness to the place where your desire is already fulfilled, and you see the world from that place. Then you walk in that state, not trying to become, but being. True transformation requires that you forget the former things. You cannot serve two masters. You must let go of the identity you no longer wish to express and embrace the one you now claim. This is the death and resurrection spoken of in Scripture, not of the body, but of the self. The old man dies the moment you refuse to think his thoughts, feel his fears, or live his story. The new man is born the moment you dare to feel something greater and persist in it. Transformation is not about fixing what is broken. It is about remembering who you truly are. You are divine imagination, the operant power, the creator clothed in human form. When you realize this, you stop trying to change the world and start changing your assumption. And as your assumptions change, your world must change with them. So dare to assume the highest. Dare to believe in your own wonderful human imagination. Persist in the new state, and your transformation shall be complete. You are not becoming, you are revealing, for all things already exist, and the power to choose your state is yours. And so, beloved, it comes down to this. You are the operant power. The authority has always been within you, not in fate, not in circumstances, not in the opinions of others, but in your own wonderful human imagination. That which you seek is not outside of you. It is already planted within your consciousness, waiting, longing to be claimed, embodied, and expressed. All things are yours now. You need only awaken to your true identity and assume it boldly, walk in it faithfully, and persist in it joyfully. Life does not respond to wishful thinking. It bends itself to assumption persisted in, and your assumption, when deeply felt and fully accepted, has no choice but to harden into fact. There is no power greater, no law more certain than this. Imagination creates reality. So begin now, not tomorrow, not when the world changes, but now, in this very breath. Decide who you are. Assume the state of the one who already possesses what you desire. Feel it real, live from it. Let that feeling become your dwelling place. And when the old thoughts, the old identity, the old fears rise again, do not wrestle them, replace them. Feel something greater. Step into the higher state, again and again, until it becomes natural. For repetition is the key to mastery, and persistence in assumption is the golden path to transformation. You are not small, you are not lost, you are not broken. These are lies told by the inner critic you once believed in. But now you know better. You are the dreamer and the dream, the creator and the creation, the sower and the harvest, and the world around you, so seemingly solid, is but your inner speech made visible. Speak differently, think differently, feel differently, and your world cannot help but transform, for it has no life of its own. It is animated by you. Let this moment be your resurrection. Let this be the day you leave behind the lesser version of yourself and step into your divine inheritance. Not with arrogance, but with sacred certainty, walk like the one who is loved, speak like the one who is chosen, move like the one whose vision is law, for that is what you are. You are the Word made flesh, the imagined made real, the unseen becoming seen. The greatest secret has always been simple. Whatever you can imagine and persist in imagining, you shall experience. So dream richly, assume nobly, persist faithfully, and above all, live as if it were already so. Because it is. Your future is not something that happens to you. It is something you are creating right now, with every thought, every feeling, every assumption. Therefore, choose this day whom you shall serve, the past or the promise, the old man or the new, fear or love, imagination or limitation. Choose imagination, and you choose God, and you choose power, and you choose freedom. It is done. Live from that truth, and nothing shall be withheld from you.